There ought to be no difficulty in answering this question if documentation alone could supply an answer. For more than a third of his life he worked in the service of his country, and all that he did officially is recorded in the National Archives on a scale no European state could then equal. The American nation-state was born in public, as it were, and minutely recorded. In addition, from the age of about 14, Washington deliberately preserved every scrap of paper belonging to him, including diaries, letters sent and received, accounts, and other day-to-day transactions. As he grew older, he arranged these papers in chronological order and by name and subject. He seems to have known from an early stage in his career that he would be a figure in history, and he therefore wanted the record to be preserved accurately with the particular object of demonstrating that the offices he held were undertaken from duty, not pride. His overwhelming ambition was to be thought unambitious. His obsession with his papers was thus a strange combination of modesty and self-awareness. He took his archive with him when he went to war, and his personal guard was under strict instructions to protect it with their lives and hustle it to a secret place of safety if the headquarters came under threat. After the war it went to his house, Mount Vernon, and was later hugely augmented by his papers as a president, preserved and sorted by a private secretary and archivist. When Washington died, his assistant, Jared Sparks, took the entire archive to Boston, whence, in 1832, it was delivered to the Library of Congress, which had bought it from the heirs. Mounted, one document per page, hinged at left and bound in leather, the papers occupy 163 linear feet of shelving, and are sold on 124 reels of microfilm, now on disc. Taken together, they constitute the most complete record of a life in the entire 18th century, exceeding by far the vast quantities of memorabilia left behind by James Boswell, for instance, or Horace Walpole. Despite this, and despite the innumerable accounts of him by contemporaries and the mountainous literature compiled by historians, so vast that probably no one person can read and digest it, Washington remains a remote and mysterious figure. He puzzled those who knew and worked with him, and who often disagreed violently about his merits and abilities. He puzzles us. No man's mind is so hard to enter and dwell within. Everyone agreed, and agrees, he was a paragon, but a rich or an empty one. A titan of flesh and blood, or a clockwork figure programmed to do wisely. Let us inquire. The first important fact is that Washington was of impeccable English ancestry and came from the class he admired the most, the independent gentry who owned land. All his life he aspired to behave like a gentleman and to own as much land as he could farm. These gentlemen farmers came from Northampton in the heart of England and were hugely loyal to the monarchy, though Northampton the city, a haunt of shoemakers, is also notorious for producing rebels. In 1657, John Washington, second officer on the ketch Seahorse of London, sailing to Virginia to pick up a cargo of tobacco, was wrecked on a Potomac shoal, near where Washington the city stands. He decided to settle in Westmoreland County, married Anne Pope, daughter of a substantial man serving in the Virginia House of Burgesses, and so acquired 700 acres at Bridges Creek, plus the capital to begin farming. He became vestryman, burgess, magistrate, and militia colonel, helped to suppress Bacon's rebellion in 1676, and died owning more than 8,000 acres, including an estate at Hunting Creek, higher up the Potomac, said to be 2,500 acres. This became Washington's Mount Vernon, the fixed center of his life, which he personally and meticulously surveyed and found to encompass 2,126 acres. By the time Washington was born, February 22, 1732, his family had been established for more than 3 generations and nearly a century as members of the Virginia elite, self-governing and practicing representative, though not democratic, rule in the English parliamentary tradition. It is important to grasp that Washington saw himself, from boyhood, as part of a ruling class that had run its own affairs as long as anyone could remember, or as the English had always put it, from time immemorial.